Hey, fourth graders.
Hi, fourth graders.
Welcome back.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is beautiful today. Look at that blue sky. You know, that crane just moved all the way around.
It did. We just watched the...
I'm wondering if we're going to see it do it later. It'd be kind of cool to watch if it does. If we catch it, we'll point your attention to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to watch.
It is.
Before we get going today, let's check in with our zones. What's your brain doing? What's your body doing? How are your emotions feeling?
Okay, teachers, how are you today? What's your zone?
I'm in the green zone. I feel good. I feel awake. I feel focused. I'm a little bit hungry.
Okay.
But I think I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wally?
I'm in the blue-yellow zone. Nowhere in the green zone.
No.
I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm very tired. But when I get tired, I get extra silly and extra unfocused. So if you notice, I'm going to have a marker or a pen in my hand most of today. Helps me focus. So that's just what I am today. So I'm going to do my best, use all my strategies, and we're going to have a great day.
It'll be great.
Mr. Kevin, how about you?
I am in the green zone.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Okay.
Happy to be here.
Before we get going, shall we do our personal standards?
Always, today and every day, when we come together, we agree to
Show respect, make good decisions, and solve problems.
So fourth graders, you're going to make a good decision by making sure that you have something to write on and something to write with today. That could be a writing notebook and a pencil, or a pen, a piece of paper,
A keyboard and a computer.
a whiteboard and a whiteboard marker, whatever you have. Let's review our scientific process.
Now, this is the thing that I just learned about. When I went to school, I learned that you start at one end and you end at the other. And it's kind of this linear process, and then you're done. But what I've learned is it never ends.
It doesn't. Look at all those arrows going all different ways.
Learning more all the time.
And
Everyone's going all the way, going in between each other.
There's no place that says, you're done.
And there's no right way to do it. I know we start at the red, but then it just you can go every which way as you're getting new information and creating ideas and understandings. So we've been spending a lot of time here in this red part, haven't we, Miss Oslin?
We have. We've made a lot of observations. We've definitely asked a lot of questions. We've read about science discoveries.
Shared our thinking.
We have.
And then we've gone to the experts. We've gathered data and information. We've come up with some explanations. We've interpreted those observations.
We revisited what we thought we knew.
Right, and maybe made some changes to it.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go to the blue zone of this process.
Yes. We're going to learn a little bit more today about sound.
And next time we're going to go learn more about sound from an expert as it relates to the Salish Sea.
Yes.
And how sound waves work within the Salish Sea.
Yes.
And then we're going to do some writing about it
We're
at the end of that lesson.
Answer our
essential question,
which
at the end
is
of the next lesson. How do animals in the Salish Sea use sound waves to survive? So really be focusing and paying attention today, fourth graders. Really be writing down information that you think links to this question, because next episode, we're going to challenge you to create a piece of informational text with the information that you've learned.
You're going to get the opportunity to learn this information in many different ways. Today, Mrs. Wally is going to show us an input chart. So that's one way that we're going to learn this information. But in our next session, we're also going to hear from an expert who's going to tell us the information in a different way and give us different examples and visuals so that you can learn it however works best for you.
Today, we're also going to use technology to be able to listen to learn.
Very cool.
It's going to be great. Mr. Kevin, do you see that?
I do.
Oh, good.
And this time, I'm just about ready.
Yay! Science word! We've been learning amazing vocabulary here on the TV classroom.
We learned about vibration, which is a movement back and forth. We learned about decibels, which is a unit for measuring the volume of sound.
Like we can see them there on our TV monitor.
We learned about pitch, which is the tone of a sound,
Is it
high, pitch, or low.
We learned about how to amplify, which means to make a larger or greater, and in our case, sound.
Ooh, and then we got to do some fun sound experiments where we got to talk about
so
variables.
fun. Remember we did like the pencils on the box and we got to see the waves actually move, and we did the water in the cups and we got to hear how the tone and pitch changed. It was awesome.
We did salt on a tray with on top of a speaker and water, and then we tried
the oobleck, but we didn't have a powerful enough amplifier to be able to get that to move.
That was the one variable that we couldn't change.
We weren't able to procure, which means to get a hold of something that had a large enough ability to amplify to make it move. So we watched it happen on a video.
That was neat.
We saw the glass break.
Oh my gosh, that was
the sound waves that broke the glass.
Yes, we didn't see the sound waves, but we saw the glass break as evidence for
the sound waves in the air. So now it's like, well, okay, that's not great, but the Salish Sea, like we have this really important place here in Tacoma and in Western Washington, and we want to make sure we're protecting it. And so now we're going to learn about how do those sound waves relate to the animals that live here in our Salish Sea.
And let's review our chant, sounds here, sounds there, so that when you are ready to go off and do your informational writing, you have a lot of vocabulary that you can draw from to use in your own academic writing.
Wonderful.
Okay, sounds here, sounds there by Kate K. Gooding.
Okay, here we go. Sounds here, sounds there, sounds everywhere. Loud sounds created strongly. Soft sounds created gently.
High-pitched sounds vibrate quickly.
Low-pitched sounds vibrate slowly. Sounds from a band, sounds in nature, sounds in our world, and sounds from me. Sounds here, sounds there, sounds everywhere. Sounds. So today we're focusing on that. Sounds in nature.
Sounds in nature.
Because did you know that animals use sounds to take care of their needs and to communicate? So we're going to talk about two different kinds of whales that live or come and visit us here in our Salish Sea, which is right out in Commencement Bay all the way up to Canada. We have all those inlets, and that's all part of the Salish Sea. So we're going to do what's called a comparison chart. So on my chart, I'm just going to draw a line.
So compare means to think about how things are
similar and how they're different. And the first type of whale we're going to talk about is a baleen whale. Okay?
Baleen whale.
So the baleen whale is interesting because it's talking about how it eats. And it has these pieces of, what is this called again? It's not cartilage. It's it's like fingernail.
Yep, it's this, the word is out of my head right
now. It is. It's right there in my head.
If we keep going,
it'll come back. So it's like pieces of fingernail that have all these fibers that come down. And we're going to get to see that when we go on our field trip next time. And they have it in their mouth. And what they do is they go underwater. They come up to the top of the water. And they come down. We saw the video of the whales that were breaching and like coming up and then closing their mouths and then coming down. And it filters the water out and leaves all the krill and the small fish, and then they swallow them whole. So baleen whales don't use their teeth to eat. They use these baleen to filter out water to be able to eat. And the interesting thing about baleen whales is they really love to communicate. Keratin, there it is.
So sorry I interrupted.
No, that was good.
Happened.
The baleen's made of keratin, the same thing that your fingernail's made of. So they communicate using sound waves. And what happens is they will send a sound out to another whale. And they'll send a bunch of sounds out. We've got some sound waves going out. And that other whale will then send sounds back, communicating back to them, whatever. And I don't know what they're saying, but have you ever seen the movie Finding Nemo?
Yes.
And these sounds go into their ear bone right here, and they can interpret it like we interpret sound.
Just like our ear bones that are inside of our ears that we learned about.
And you know how Dory's like, whoa, I need help getting to Sherman, Sydney, Australia. Like that. That's not what they do, but that's what Dory did. But then the whales called back to her.
They were able to communicate.
Now, the thing about these whales is they don't use their sound for echolocation. They don't use their sounds like bats to find out where things are so that they stay away from dangerous things and so that they can find their food. They use their sounds to communicate. Just think a second about what implications that has for these whales here in the Salish Sea, where we have fishing vessels, we have very large container ships, we have people having fun out in their boats. We have ferry boats. Just think on that for a while. Keep that in the back of your head. Now, the other kind of whale that we have is called a toothed whale.
Toothed whale.
And we have a very famous kind of toothed whale. There's lots of them, but there's one here that's very famous. We have some that are residents, that they live here all the time and they eat salmon. And then we have some other ones that are transient. That means they actually migrate up and down the coast of the Pacific Ocean, up all the way to Alaska, all the way down to Antarctica. And they swim back and forth and they come visit here in the Salish Sea to eat our seals, other fish, other large mammals. And they're called orcas.
Orcas, I've heard of those.
Or killer whales, and they're a toothed whale, which means they're part of the dolphin family. Isn't that cool? So toothed whales are part of the dolphin family, which if you look at them, they kind of look like a dolphin more than they look like this, right?
They do. They're sleek.
They are sleek, and they're normally black with then just like these white patterns on their body, and we can tell which ones are in which pods by the markings on their body, which is really cool. Now, the thing about toothed whales is they can communicate by talking to each other. That happens. But they do this really interesting thing. They send clicks and tones out. So we're going to call that the sound out. And I'm going to make that green again, just like. So here's the sound out. And they make these clicks and hums. And then pretty soon it runs into something like fish. Or up here, it could be like a boat with a propeller on it, right? And then what happens is the sound bounces off of it and
like an
echoes
echo.
back. That's why it's called echo location. Bounces and echoes back. And what happens is they get these bounced off sounds that come back. And the way that the sound echoes and vibrates off of it, they can tell how large the object is, if it's something they want to eat or something they need to explore. And they can sense it with all these nerve endings and sensors here in the front of their bodies.
They can tell how far away it is.
They know how far away it is. It's pretty cool.
They can probably tell what material it's made of based on the echo that comes back.
Like, and I've been watching orca videos because Oliver's really into orcas right now. And it's really interesting to watch the orcas be hunting and then come up underneath a kayak or someone on a paddleboard or someone in a small boat. And they do not tip the boats over.
Right.
They might bump into it to see what it is, but they don't tip the boats over. But then, 100 feet away, they kill a seal. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
So what we're going to do.
Let's look at our input chart and think about how they're similar and different.
Yes. So what is similar about these two different kinds of whales and how they use sound waves to survive the Salish Sea? Well, they both send sound out.
Yes. It's that green part. It's both going out.
They're both whales. They're both in the Salish Sea.
They are.
What's different? What do you think is different? One's using it solely to communicate. The other one's using it to bounce back and find and understand the world around them.
But what's also similar is that they both use whatever sound comes back
to interpret and decide what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Very interesting.
So we're going to listen to some sounds. Mr. Kevin's going to keep it right here on this shot. We're going to listen to some sounds and you're going to look at this input chart and we want to see if you can figure out, do you think this is an orca or a humpback whale? Think about what you learned.
A humpback is a
Baleen whale. Think about what you learned. Toothed whale, baleen whale. About the sounds you're hearing. Just listen. Can we listen to it again?
Yes.
What'd you hear, Miss Osmond?
It kind of sounded like a door squeaking to me.
It did, and I heard like a bloop, bloop, bloop. It sounded like they were like sending.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think that was a toothed whale or a baleen whale communicating? You might not know yet. Let's listen to the other one. Let's listen to it one more time. Do you know what that reminds me of? I know.
It's a lower pitched sound.
It is, and it's got like a rhythm to it. Like it's very, it flows.
Melodic.
Yes,
Kevin?
Mr. Kevin.
So teachers, one thing I know about sound and how it travels
Oh, Mr. Kevin's very good at this.
is that low sounds, low frequencies travel much, much farther than squeaks and clicks. The short little sounds, the high sounds, don't travel very far.
So if you're trying to communicate with something far away, you're probably going to use the lower sound.
That's right.
And if you're bigger, you're probably going to be farther away from whatever it is that you're trying to communicate because you would need more space.
That sounds reasonable.
And then the clicks can be a little bit higher and tinnier because you're waiting for it to bounce off of something. And that's going to be closer to you.
Because you would want it to be a quicker sound. I want to put it out there and
Especially
see
if
it
I'm
comes
hunting
back.
for some food, I don't want to have to go very far.
Yeah.
So what do you think? The first one, Miss Oslin, what do you think? Was it the toothed whale or the baleen whale?
I think it was the toothed whale because it was shorter and higher pitched.
What do you think, Mr. Kevin? Because he doesn't know.
He hasn't seen it.
So back
Do you
to
want to
the
play him
first
again?
one? Yeah, the first one.
This one.
That sounds to me like I've heard dolphins before.
Uh-huh.
It sounds dolphin-like, doesn't it?
It does, and it's that high pitch and
Yeah.
the clicking.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the toothed whale?
I think it's the toothed whale.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. It's an orca.
Yeah.
Then this one is the baleen whale.
Sounds like they're talking.
Could be a mother calling for her calf.
It could be. That's what I was thinking too. And that's the type of baleen whale it is a humpback whale. So amazing, isn't it? So, we just learned about these whales in our Salish Sea and how they're using sound waves.
Yes. To survive.
So we want you to think about what is some information you learned today. Just jot down some notes. And that's what you're going to tell us on Flipgrid. What did you learn today?
I would really look forward to seeing the different ways that you tell us about it because
Yes.
you could
Get
write a
creative.
paragraph. You could write a song or a rap and
Ooh.
perform it.
That'd be fun.
On
You
Flipgrid?
could make some art. Or you could have a skit and a play.
You could pretend you are a toothed whale and your friend is a baleen whale.
Yeah, and
And
you could like
act out
act out
how
the
you-
different sounds, how you think they would sound. That'd be really awesome. So you can write, but you can also then create here on Flipgrid and let us know what you've learned. If you don't want to do it on Flipgrid, Mr. Kevin, how can they send us their work?
Well, sure. So you can always send us an email with your district provided laptop. TV Classroom at tacoma.k12.wa.us. What an adult thing to send an email to your teacher.
That
make you
sounds
feel
like being
grown up?
responsible to me.
Yeah. You can also mail us at TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mr. Kevin. All right, now it's time for our affirmation. And this is much like second grade, where this is really the first time we're kind of at the end of learning and learning and learning. And we're asking you to take a lot of that information and do some synthesizing, which means, what does it mean? What does all this new information mean? So you're going to show us what you know. And that can be tricky or feel like it's a lot of pressure. But let's all remind ourselves, I can show what I know.
You can. And you'll be showing us even more next time after our field trip.
Let's take a deep breath and say our affirmation together. I can show what I know. Excellent job today, fourth graders. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you back here next time in our TV classroom.
Bye, friends.
Rules. 1. You have 10 seconds to pick your crewmate. 2. A new timer will appear with an exercise for the crewmate you picked. 3. You will get points for each correct crewmate and exercise you choose. 4. If you pick the imposter, you will lose all your points. 5. Use your math skills to see how many points you can get. Good luck!